Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Happiness Journey with Dr. Dan podcast, where every journey is worth living. My name is Dr. Dan, and I'm your host for today's episode. I'm a bilingual neurolinguistic programming and cognitive behavior psychotherapist specializing in anger management issues, both court-appointed and private, marriage counseling using the EFT method, dissociative disorders, narcissistic personality disorders, depression, anxiety, dream analysis, and also provide life, business, and retirement coaching support. I provide individual one-on-one session in both French or English, and also do group settings. If you need any assistance, reach out to DMV Therapy and Coaching Services at 301-325-1550, and our website can be found at lifecoachdanamzalang.com. Today, I'm very excited to have for our third episode of season 17, a very special guest and behavior analyst and creator of mobile application Noweigh Valerie Evans. And just like every of my past episodes, I will leave it up to the guests to properly introduce themselves, as no one can do a better job. Valerie, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, I'm a educational psychologist and a board-certified behavior analyst. Behavior analysis, for those who aren't familiar, is a way of understanding the interconnection between responses and their contexts. I like to describe behavior analysis as optimistic realism, and I identify as an optimistic realist. And the idea being that you can view events and the world objectively, or strive toward viewing it objectively, but at the same time have a positive outlook. And behavior analysis always begins with the assumption that there's a spark and that we just need to find it. And it's just a matter of shifting through the ash and finding that burning ember that can be nurtured and grow into the direction that will be helpful to the individual and get the outcomes that you're looking for.
Beautiful.
And
Beautiful.
yeah.
Thank you so much for being here today. So your mobile app, based on what we've shared together, is primarily in the health and fitness. Is that correct, if I'm not mistaken? Or is just general in behavior analysis?
It's weight loss app.
Okay. So obviously it's called Noweigh, Weigh. Now, what are you trying to change in terms of people perspective or relationship with food? Is it those who have suffered from any type of obesity before in the past, or those who are doing like some kind of yo-yo dieting? What is exactly the purpose of this mobile app?
Well, it was inspired by personal experience. And for me, it was just always feeling like I wanted to feel more connected to my body, more comfortable, feel less really intimidated by my own body, and less concerned about what I'm eating, and kind of discourage some of the patterns that were distressing to me in my daily life. So I would say Noweigh is the original target audience is really anyone who has prior experience with weight loss programs and knows a little bit about what those feel like, what it feels like to follow a restriction rule. Many of them require you to pay attention to what you're eating, be on your phone a lot, and write down everything you eat. There's a lot of numbers, we're writing down how much we're eating, or budgeting, so that at the end of the week, I live in northeastern Pennsylvania, and at the end of the week, we have something called pizza night on Friday. So there's the pizza, and then there's the ice cream on the drive home. And that was actually what killed me, was the budgeting, and just kind of taking my attention away from my body and just imposing a restriction rule to follow, further disconnected me from feeling like myself. And so anyway, I found it to be more of a distraction and mentally taxing. And if you can approach a change process with positivity and something that you're enjoying from day one and that feels natural, then the change will be naturally generalized and be long term.
Good. So Based on what you just shared, is it like those who actually deal with slow metabolism or any hormonal problems? How do you circumvent that by telling them, okay, well, your diet or your eating habits should change in this regard, or you should take less carbohydrates, more protein, less fat? I mean, does it give any customization of the type of eating habit they should take, or how does Noweigh deal with every single circumstances that most people deal with on a day-to-day basis?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, it always begins with whatever medical issue is going on, you want to be aware of that first. So, if you have some type of recommendation coming from your doctor, or, medical professional about certain food groups or types of food that you should be staying away from or eating more of, then you want to keep that in mind when you're eating. But what happens is you have a recommendation and then you have the actual follow through. And somewhere in between that's where we falter and things start to fall apart. And that's what I'm concerned about. And that's where Noweigh is filling in the gap, that you have the recommendation, but you aren't told like how to do it and to fit it into your specific daily life. And everyone is different, and we are all an expert on our own daily life, how different things feel, how we feel about different things. We love our jobs, but we also work too much. There's a lot of contradiction that we'll have in our lives. We want to be with our loved ones more, but then when we're with them, we feel distracted or like we're having trouble being present. And that's where Noweigh comes in. Just being better at recognizing what the barriers are to that follow through and working change into your life in a natural way.
And so for you, have you struggled with being overweight before, or what really prompted you to create this mobile application?
Well, the inspiration came actually after I had my third C-section. I had a baby and I was recovering, and two other children, and it was a lot. And I felt very disconnected from my own body. And in the past, I've used weight loss programs, and I wanted to feel like myself again. So that's where I started. But my example is kind of extreme, recovering from surgery, having small children, breastfeeding, not sleeping correctly. There were a lot of variables going on, and just the exaggerated stressors of life at that time pointed out to me how these restriction rule following approaches to weight loss are really not about the human experience. You're kind of taking an accounting approach to a behavioral problem. And that's where, we don't really have any follow through. We have kind of a glorified calculator for like the calories in, calories out types of programs, but we don't have anything that's integrating into our life. And if we can just begin by noticing the patterns that we are tending to do in our daily life and how they're maintaining our current weight, then we can focus our effort on weakening those patterns with actually very little effort at all, and just feel empowered and do it for positive reasons rather than getting wrapped up in numbers and weighing ourselves and feeling disappointed and like our day is a win or a lose, but rather it's all part of a change process.
So do you not recommend people to use a scale anymore, because this is just makes them more frustrated if they don't lose the desired amount of weight every single week? Or do you tell them it's how your clothes fit primarily? Because a lot of people are just kind of obsessed with the numbers, as you said, but then it's, if you have to have such a huge caloric deficit and start eating like a bird, then you become malnutritioned, and then that becomes a new cycle where your body is going to just go into a defense mechanism, and it's like total chaos. So how do you change people's perspective about, you know what, take that scale, shove it in the garbage, and start looking at ways to be able to feel like to be able to fit more in your clothes. That's what really counts.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that's on an individual level. Like for me, it was taking the scale and throwing it in the garbage was pretty much what I had to do because I was on those programs where I was weighing myself all the time and I was kind of trained to decide whether I'm being successful based on what the scale is telling me about myself, um, rather than attending to my own internal cues. But really what you're striving for is to to be able to get weighed. You know, let's say you're not using your scale anymore, and then you go to your annual doctor's appointment and you get weighed. And rather than feeling elated because you lost 3 pounds or, you know, deeply distressed because you gained 3 pounds, you can get weighed and understand that as information and understand it objectively and then see it in context that you can kind of zoom out on your life and you can see the big picture and oh, I can understand that I gained 3 pounds because it's the holidays that just came around and this is normal for me and I know that if I'm attending to the way my body feels and I'm eating to feel good for right now and end my day feeling good, then this is going to take care of itself. So that's where I want to put my attention on how I feel and using food to feel good and not really worry about when those 3 pounds come off because I know this is a big picture thing and I know how to keep myself, you know, on track to feeling like myself.
But you know, we mentioned earlier to kind of like take this scale and shove it in the garbage, but then that's just the first part of the equation. The second part of the equation is stop comparing yourself to others because a lot of people have the tendency. So basically, shut off all the social media channels, get away from it because then you always look at what is a typical woman that she's size 1 or size 0, and if you obsess about that then this is where the mental aspect kicks in, which is way stronger than the physical one. So, how do you tell them how to start also changing their behavior on how they perceive others versus how they perceive themselves?
I love that. Yeah. Um, the first thing no way users do is rule breaking, and that's a non-commitment, super simple, you know, pain-free way to weaken a response. So you notice that you're evaluating someone else's appearance and you can just change how you're approaching that. Like in no way one of the examples is seeing someone perform sing, you know, on TV, and are you listening to them and allowing yourself to be moved by the music? Are you evaluating their outfit and how they fit in it? And which will eventually translate into evaluating yourself and being critical of yourself. Because when you're looking at other people and judging them, it's just an extension of your own tendency to be judgmental and critical of yourself. And that does you no favors when you're trying to change and do something positive. You want to begin with acceptance. So rule breaking is all about recognizing and accepting these patterns and then just doing it differently once. You know, I'm just not going to finish everything on my plate just this time. And I'm just going to see how it feels. I'm going to skip my evening snack, you know, and I'm just going to be done at dinner and I'm just going to go to bed. And I'm just going to see how that affects me. You know, how do I feel? You know, what does the hunger feel like? Does it go away? Am I actually hungry? Was it just a pattern I was following? Do I fall asleep better? You know, do I sleep better? Do I feel better in the morning and, you know, enjoy breakfast more because I didn't have those, you know, snacks in my stomach all night? So it's definitely the food stuff and it's also the non-food stuff that really affects our motivation and our outlook.
But do you recommend also that people follow just the typical aspect of okay, you cannot eat up into 3 hours before you go to bed, or to be able to feel your hunger, you have to drink more water. So because sometimes we eat just because of boredom, or we eat because we're thirsty. So really what the thirst is like it will fulfill the hunger because people don't realize that. So do you still, meet the traditional kind of how many grams of protein, carbohydrates, and fat they have to eat every single day to not go into any kind of deficit that can be detrimental to their body?
For Noweigh, we get rid of all the numbers right off the bat, and the assumption is that a body can take care and feed itself if we're listening to it. So, creating a plate that has fat and carbs and protein and fruits and vegetables, and also trying to increase fruits and vegetables and also drink more water. But the fruits and vegetables, Noweigh users eat more of those. They are nutritious and good for our bodies, and we should always eat as many of those as possible. But the behavior analysis reason for eating more fruits and vegetables is because it makes your belly feel a very distinct way. And you eat a large salad as your meal, with protein on it, and a slice of bread if you want to. And your belly's going to feel a lot differently after that meal than if you had
Meat and potato.
meat and potatoes. Exactly. Totally different. It'll feel totally different. And then when your body feels differently, you feel differently, and then there's this chain of events. And we have something called behavioral momentum, that you do one thing, one small thing, one really small step in that right direction, just finishing your apple at lunch, that you always pack but never eat. And then that leads to another positive response and another one. And they just seem to pile up, just like our bad behaviors tend to pile up and overwhelm us. We can kind of use the same idea towards the helpful habits that we're trying to strengthen.
Yeah, that's so true. And also the reason why people, like when they eat a big lunch, then they feel exhausted because then the body has to start putting all of its energy into the digestion process. And then because they feel tired, they need to either drink coffee or eat something to be able to regain that energy, which is full of sugar. And then the vicious cycle continues. So the ideal is that eat very light at lunch, eat a light breakfast, and the dinner can be just low carbs, enough protein, but not to eat after a certain time. Because then these are new habits that people just don't understand the cycle or the way that the body processes all this food. And sometimes for me, like I do intermittent fasting. So my first meal will be at 2:30 p.m. and I will stop eating by 6:30 p.m. So I have a 4-hour window to be able to have my calorie intake during that time. And the reason is because also is how the pancreas secrete insulin every time that you eat. So sometimes when you hear people say, oh, eat 6 times a day, that can be actually detrimental for the pancreas because that means that it always have to level the blood sugar in the body. And then this is where you have those spikes. And this is where the body start restoring a lot of food into fat. And then this is how people gain weight. So it becomes a cycle that people just cannot take themselves out because it's all habits.
It's all habits. Yeah, it's all habits. And then what you're saying too about feeling your body responding to food and your eating patterns, and that's just golden because we all share some tendencies, but we're all a little bit different too, and we all have different diets that we're accustomed to and eating habits that we're accustomed to. And if we can recognize how they're making us feel, we can begin with the question, how do I want to feel? And then eat for that reason. And then you mentioned being tired, and I just identify with this so much because I can tell, the first 20 minutes I'm awake, whether I had enough sleep or not. And it's when I don't have enough sleep, my whole day is about re-arousing myself, and just getting myself through my day and doing everything that I need to do. And for me, snacking can be effective at that. It's fun. It keeps me engaged mentally. The crunching, the sugar, it is effective. but it's not long-term effective, and it's not a helpful habit that's going to be good for my body. So a big part of that is also having alternative responses that are that are like consistent with your values and something that you can do in your daily life. And these can be things like keeping your body active, even something as simple as stretching, waking your body up and reconnecting with yourself. Also just connecting with your loved ones, and feeling more present will lead to being more engaged with your decisions and being less susceptible to automatically responding to how you feel throughout the day.
That's so true. And also the thing is that people are too afraid of changes as well, Valerie. And because of that, and we all know, you and I, that it takes between 45 to 60 days to change your old habit or to regain a new one. But people are not really ready to be able to go and pass that difficult time, because if you withdraw yourself from sugar, you're going to get yourself like lack of energy. You can feel, no, that's not worth it. I need that sugar. I need to move on with my day, etc. But if you pass that 5 to 8 days withdrawal, and you still can, like Basketball Diary with Leonardo DiCaprio when he had to get away from the drugs, same thing. You're going to feel suffering, but after that, you're going to feel that the body really didn't need it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I love the sugar example too, because I love sugar.
I got to say, but it's difficult.
Um, and one of the strategies in Noweigh is called rearrange, and it's with sugar in mind specifically. And the idea is you don't have to kill the habit and kill the food at the same time. You could kind of separate them. For example, if you really love sugar, maybe you could have like a higher sugar yogurt for your breakfast, and then maybe transitioning to the one that you really want to eat as time goes on. Or you have a habit of drinking soda to keep yourself awake, or because you really feel like you need it. You can limit soda to certain times of the day or just during your meals, and then work on reducing it as you go. So it's not so painful, and you're not plowing through something that's causing you distress and something that feels really hard.
But then again, when you were mentioning soda, are people addicted to the sugar in the soda or to the fizz of the soft drink? So maybe they could replace